it's I did want to mention just a couple of quick things. Upcoming shows on the 12th of May. My dear friend Bill Ludwig III will be my guest. That's a Wednesday. Bill Ludwig, of course, needs no introduction. Worked for his grandfather and father at Ludwig Drums for many years, has his own company now. And then that following Friday, the 14th of May, I will have none other than Kenny Aronoff on the show with me at 1 p.m. Eastern time. So a couple of big shows coming up. Might have another surprise next week that I'm working on, but if not, wouldn't be the worst thing to have a week off either. So anyway, Saturday Night Live likes to take a week off every now and again, so I may need to do that too. But anyway, one last thing I want to point out is behind me, you might notice I have my 1970 or 71 Gretsch Peacock Flame drum set up. It's back from my son's house where it's been for the past year. I installed the Kelly Shoe system in the bass drum the other day. It has a Shure Beta 52 mic inside, and it sounds fantastic. So these drums are ready to go for gigs, and there are some gigs coming up, which is pretty exciting. So been wanting to get these drums ready, and just in case I decide to take them out, which is I can never really decide what drum set I'm going to use, which is a good problem to have. But anyway, excited about that. So thanks to Jeff Kelly, as always, at Kelly Shoe, and my good friend Ryan Smith at Shure Microphones for the great service and being the great guys and helpful guys that they are. So very excited about that. Also excited that I'm going to be getting a new Shure microphone pretty soon. This mic's been working out just fine, but I'm going to try one of their MV7 mics that looks like it's going to be right up my alley. So stay tuned for that. All right. So enough of the infomercial. Without further ado, I'm going to bring on my good friend, dear friend, the great Eddie Bayers.
Hello.
Eddie.
Do you see me?
I see you great. Can you see me okay?
Yes, yep. I do. Thank you.
Great. And you look marvelous, as always.
So do you. Like nothing has changed since 1991.
I know. Actually, I think we met the first time in '89 at my first time to Nashville, my first year at Zildjian, and PASIC was held in Nashville that year.
Oh, okay.
And I ran over to a studio with Mike Morse. I met you, I think, just briefly. You were doing something in the way of a demo. Does that sound right? It was a long time ago, I know.
Yeah. My recollection is just back when you were already a Zildjian, and I would meet you in LA whenever I had projects out there, and pick up cymbals for requests. And you and Anne-Marie.
I know. And I remember those days out in LA too, where you were, you were like my therapist for a long time, man. We would get into some really heavy stuff during.
Well, we had a lot of, as far as personal, we had a lot of similarities there.
I know. I remember. And I thank you again to this day. I appreciate your friendship and your compassion and everything. Yeah.
I love you, brother.
I love you too, Eddie. Yeah. I love you too. And it's so good to see you. And how have you been? We've sort of kept a little bit in touch, on Facebook and in some of these other things over the last year. But how are things with you and Lane over there out there in Nashville?
Well, it's I don't know if anybody's read, but May 14th, all restrictions for capacity are lifted.
Wow.
So restaurants, venues, everything can go to 100%. There'll still be masks.
Yep.
But that is a big change.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's huge. That's fantastic. That's a good sign. We're seeing a lot of that here too. They're every week they're sort of like moving up in a good way, moving it closer, the restrictions and lifting. They just now have said, I'm sure like you, where, if you've been vaccinated, it's fine to be outside without a mask, and which is exciting for us because we visit our grandkids and we've been, we play outside in their yard and we all wear masks. So last week
Yeah.
was the first time we got to take our masks off, which was great.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, I know. And they call me Pops, and they realized, oh, Pops, we forgot how ugly you are.
Oh, ouch, ouch. Yeah, I am Papa.
Papa.
Yeah, Papa. Yeah.
It's great, isn't it? It's the best.
It absolutely is, John.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's great. And you've been working. I mean, during this past year, you've I know things slowed down quite a bit, but I'm guessing you had some projects, you had some things keeping you busy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, very amazingly, almost full circle. A lot of the producers I worked with over the years. I was back with Kyle Lenning, back with Jim Ed Norman, back with Garth Fundus, back with Alan Jackson. We did it. We just did a new album on him. So it's and it's still ongoing. There's bookings going on, and slowly but surely, it's coming back. I'm seeing a lot of posts about sessions going on, and
great. And is a lot of this stuff, Eddie, remote stuff that you do at home in your home studio, or are you going into, like, is it like it used to be where you're going in the studio with the kit and everybody's there and tracking?
It's been full band.
Yeah. Wow.
I mean, I am doing some home stuff for people, depending on what they want. I did a new artist wanted keyboards, so I did the keyboards on his files. And then ironically, Fred Mullen, who's a great producer, produced Mandy Barnett, and he wanted timpanis. So I put timpanis on something. So, it's a great virtual world. So everything is possible. Yeah.
I remember you opening your studio in the 90s. The Money Pit, was that the name of it? And at a time, at least in my mind, it was before a lot of people were doing that. You were starting, you already kind of saw where things were going.
Yeah.
With all that. And so I'm guessing you positioned yourself well to be able to deal with a situation like this where it just took everybody by surprise, and
well, actually, I sold the studio maybe 8 or 9 years ago.
Yeah.
So I wasn't in that anymore. My partner, Paul Worley, is a known producer. And when he started scaling down, then we just didn't want to wait for the phone to ring. And so it was time. It was time. But we had like 27 years.
I remember. Yeah, it was going. Yeah, it was. Yeah, that was the smart move, because I think like Simon Phillips had a place out in LA, same situation, had it going for a while, and started to kind of see the writing on the wall, so to speak, and ended up selling it, and because it can be a costly venture if you don't have a lot of folks coming in, then.
Yeah, well, there's only a few left standing here. I mean, 2 of them, major studios, Sound Emporium and Ocean Way, are owned by universities. Wow. But they're still active studios. And then I understand that Dale Morris, who had a massive room called the Tracking Room, that's for sale, and they might have already done that. I don't know, but most of it is there's a lot of converted houses, and they're great studios, but they're just converted houses. And then in a lot of cases, they'll do the record maybe in whatever studio's left, and then they take it back to their homes or whatever, and they finish everything there. So,
isn't that amazing? Yeah, I sound like, it sounds something my dad would have said, rest his soul. Like, isn't the technology amazing? But it really is, all kidding aside, that you can, like you say, take it home and get that sort of quality in a home studio. That's I know I sound like I just fell off the turnip truck. I know.
I know. It was ironic that a lot of the change back when we started our studio, of course, we were analog 24. Then we got one of the first digital 32 track Mitsubishi. And then we went to a 48 track Studer. And we're talking about machines that cost $198,000.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah, so we continued on. Then all of a sudden Pro Tools came on the scene and they became boat anchors. You know,
Yeah.
just changed everything.
Yeah. Wow. I know. And like, what do you do in that situation? I mean, there are still people that maybe want those,
Oh yeah.
those analog systems, right? So there's
Yeah, some of the studios accommodate that. If you want to simul analog to digital, they even have the links. I don't know the term for the apparatus, but they can link the analog machine to the Pro Tools machine and it goes simul, you know.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
And that's a great world too, you know, just having both.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to just quickly read a couple of quick notes here, Eddie, on the comments here that our friend Carlos Guzman Los joining us from sunny Florida.
Okay.
Los, good to see you, brother. He's been in all those sessions events that you've done over the years.
Oh, great to see.
I know you know Los. And Angie Rodriguez, our friend from Remo,
yeah.
Sweetheart, she's watching. She says hello.
Wow.
And I was in touch with Ryan Smith from Shure Microphones this morning, who asked me to say hello to you as well.
Oh, yeah, Ryan, yes.
Yeah, good old Ryan. He may be joining at some point, but popping in to say hi. But he asked me to say hello to you. Yeah.
Well, ironically, tell him.
Yeah, look at that. Yeah.
From Ryan. And I love them. Yeah, they're great.
Yeah, they're good folks there, and they make great stuff, man. They sure do. Great stuff. Yeah. You know, ahead of all this, I've been thinking about so many things, fun times we've had together. And I'm trying to remember the name of the restaurant we used to go to every year, Eddie.
Yeah.
Was it the Manor? Was that what it was called?
The New Orleans Manor.
New Orleans Manor. Yes.
Oh my God. You know, it's a shame it's not there, but my goodness, what an unbelievable facility. Oh.
I wondered if it was still there because I it's been so long now, but that was our every year thing. What a facility. You turned us on to it. You said,
yeah,
I got this place. I got a place in mind we'll go to. And I remember the first time we went, we're like, how did we never know about this place?
I know.
Yeah.
It became the go-to for anybody that knew me that came through. I mean, they wanted it. I was requested.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's still active, but it's just not that glorious buffet anymore. It's called Monell's.
Monell's. Okay.
Yeah. More of a meat and three, not meat and three, I'm sorry, but more of a Southern cooking restaurant.
Yep. Yeah. But I remember some times, going there with you and Lane and Buddy Harmon.
Oh man.
And John Sorensen, the folks from Zildjian and boy, what a unbelievable evening it would be. It would just be like the ultimate.
Yes, and there. Rick Malkin was always with us.
Yeah, Rick Malkin. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Good old Rick. Yep. Yeah. Fun stuff. I just start thinking about all these fun times, and I think the last time we all got together, it's not to talk about food all the time, but I saw this picture of us, you and me and Chad Cromwell and Harry McCarthy.
Yes.
And Chris Ryan, we're all at and Sarah and Lane, of course, and Harry's wife, and we were all at Morton's.
Yes.
There in Nashville. Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Wow. So beautiful memories, brother.
Yeah, I know. I just I have so many great memories like that of us just breaking bread and just hanging and.
Well, I'll jog your memory. Where was it when I came up to Berkeley and you took me out with your family to an incredible restaurant in Boston?
I think it was an Italian restaurant. Was it in the North End, maybe? And do you remember it being an Italian place?
I think so. I mean, I know it was great food.
That's what I recall. I remember when you were at Berkeley and this part of Boston called the North End. It's not too far from Back Bay where Berkeley is, and I do remember that. I want to say, I maybe I had my kids with me possibly.
You did.
Yeah. Okay.
You did.
Yeah. and we went and had a great dinner
Whew.
at one of the nice Italian restaurants there.
It
Yeah.
was wonderful. Wonderful.
Oh man, that's great. I forgot about that. I'm so glad you remember that.
Yeah. Well,
Oh man.
This Zoom is getting into what I usually, by category, is when people talk about sessions. I say sessions are just something I do in between eating.
Yeah, I know.
And this is it.
Well, you look great, man. You look
Thank
like you look as fit as always, and it's great that you can eat as much as you play and look so good. So,
well, Lane and I, we built a great little fitness center in our home, and we're walking every day. We got little workout things and apparatuses. I can't even pronounce the name. One is well, who cares what it is? But anyway, the bicycle stuff. So it's very important, in our term in life, or any time of life.
Absolutely.
So much for longevity,
Right. Yeah. And it's, I found that too, that it's not only physically, but it's great to keep your mind fit too, to just, having that activity and I get out in the mornings, and if I walk or I run, and it allows me to just, decompress.
But for my mind, one choice I made 19 years ago, which was a great choice, was to join the Opry staff band. That by itself is something. You talk about keep the mind, especially since COVID hit. The Opry band was the only band allowed in the house, the Opry house, and we're tested every week.
Yeah.
And thank goodness yesterday I'm negative still after months. But the thing is, we have to handle every artist. So you can imagine within each night, Tuesday, Friday, Saturday, probably in a week, you're going to have 40 to 50 songs to learn. Wow. So that keeps your mind going.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah. And how, so how do you go about that? Is it a lot of reading kind of on the spot, or is it?
No, we're usually given a heads up.
Yeah.
Our coordinator uploads MP3s from the artists. We download the artists. We can either chart them ourselves, but we always refer to Larry Paxton as our incredible bass player, who's, just incredible chartmeister, But anyway, he charts them. He posts them in the Dropbox. We get them, like I've got all my work for tonight.
Yeah.
Of the artists I'm going to work with. And then I'm prepared. When I get there, then we just get through the night, and then I'll be ready to shoot for tomorrow night. And but there's always a lot more tomorrow night than there is tonight, because we have a thing called TV night, and Saturday night is broadcasted over Circle TV, I think it's called.
Yeah.
YouTube also hosts that, so that goes live at 8:00. But of course, we start the Opry at 7. So, but still,
it's a lot of music, like you say. It keeps your mind sharp, because you've got to. That's great. And I had forgotten that you were doing that, because I remember when you started doing that show, and it's 3 nights a week that you're playing, and then it's the live show on Saturday night.
No, it's all live.
It's all live.
Yeah, but Saturday is TV is broadcasted on cable.
I see. Okay.
Saturday night. All the rest of them are broadcasted by Sirius and different other radio hosts, whatever.
Yeah.
But the Saturday night is the night where from 8 to 9, you got to really be on your toes.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah. Wow. And who else is in the band, Eddie? Is it some of some of the guys that you work with kind of regularly in town? And
yeah, pretty much. Our band, our musical director is Kerry Marks, incredible guitar player. Larry Paxton bass, Mike Noble acoustic. We have see who else. Well, we do have a couple of subs we bring in. Danny Parks is one, and then Tommy White plays steel, and our background singers are incredible. And it's a very well-tuned band. Everybody is always on top of it. It amazes me how they're able to attain the music.
Yeah.
All I'm concerned with is beats and things like that, which can get pretty involved, because a lot of the records today are programmed.
Right.
So the loops and drums on top of the loops, you have to replicate somehow to interpolate. How are you going to make that? Because the loops aren't allowed on because of licensing. So I have to somehow work in those worlds. But for them, when I think of all, he's always on top of it. It amazes the guitar parts, the learning all of the solos and things of that nature. I mean, it amazes me how great they are.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, that's, yeah, that'll keep you, yeah, that'll keep you on your toes and then some.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was reading, I went on to, this is silly. I knew there were a whole bunch of, not silly, but it's mind blowing really more than anything. When I look at your recording credits and your credits overall. And I mean, I knew about a lot of this stuff, but I didn't know about all of this stuff. If you permit me to just, so I know most people watching this at home probably have a pretty good idea about this, but 300 gold and platinum albums you've performed on, recorded on. Academy of Country Music Drummer of the Year, 14 years. Nashville Music Awards Drummer of the Year for 3 years. Country Music Hall of Fame. It's unbelievable. It really is. It's staggering. And it keeps going.
And I think it was 2 years ago, went into the Musicians Hall of Fame. So I really enjoyed that.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Right. I do remember that. Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, is there anything, this is a silly question, but is there anything you feel like you haven't done that you'd still like to do, like in the way of artists, or I can't imagine any award that you haven't won.
Well, I think all of us, and what we're seeing over the past, as far as so-called award shows and stuff like that, it only goes so far. It's great to be able to say it, but it's not going to keep you busy.
Right.
Somebody's not going to call because, oh, you are in the Musicians Hall of Fame, I'm going to have, that's not the way it works. It's all about what you have done lately. And so I always just look forward, whatever artist is next, or even artists that I'm familiar with. I always look forward to recording with them again. And I certainly look forward to new artists, that are coming on the scene. And so pretty much that's, I guess, what I would look forward to is that, there's nothing that I would say that I really have on my hope list or anything like that. My hope is just to continue on like I'm doing, and, get to keep on doing my sessions and playing at the Opry and, things of that nature. And I appreciate that. And just look forward to more of that.
Yep. No, I understand. And it was kind of a, really not even it was kind of an odd question for me to even ask, I think, because.
No, not at all. I understand, because there are people I know that have a bucket list and they go, man, I've always wanted to work with this guy or that guy, and when I think about it, it's a situation that when I look over my past, I mean, I've worked with so many people, and when I go down the list, I go, well, I'm satisfied,
Yeah. Yep. And that's exactly where I was going with that, Eddie, was, like in my mind, you've worked with everybody, every country artist I can think of. But not just country artists. And,
right.
you're a drummer, recording artist that's played with everybody. And so, yeah, I was wondering, like, who is there really but your answer is the right answer, which is, it's really not about, trying to just pad your resume, so to speak. It's really about just playing good music and looking ahead to what's coming along down the road.
Exactly.
And
to see that, to have that continue. That's what I look forward to, and hopefully to be blessed with doing.
Yeah. Can you, I know we've talked about this, just you and I hanging out together. And I would love to have you talk about it for everybody to hear, but what advice could you give to, like, this is a classic question, like,
Yeah.
somebody moving to Nashville that wants to break into the scene, but like, what things have you noticed over the years that have made it, that have been obvious to you as to why you always, besides your musicality and your playing and your personality, like, what are some things people could take away from this to to be better prepared to break into session work or just being a pro drummer?
I really think that most of the drummers that I interact with, and they always send me MP3s and stuff like that, and they're all great.
Mm.
They're great. I said, look, you already know how to play. So the other aspect, if they want to look at coming here, then it's about the music community. Networking is the most important thing.
Yeah.
Now that it's opening back up, some of those venues that allow somebody new to come in and be heard or even get to meet other musicians, because a lot of it would be, let's just say downtown, if somebody comes into one of those venues and wants to sit in, and sometimes the band accommodates that and the drummer gets up and he plays. Sometimes in those bands there's somebody there who just, man, you're a great player, let me have your number.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is if you go to venues or songwriters or situations that host those kind of events, is to always have your card and offer that to a songwriter. But again, it's still expanding on networking. That's the most important thing, because unless you have a friend here already, that that you're going to be able to come and find a way in, because a lot of times artist bands now that are going to finally get back together with artist bands, I mean, people that we've backed up in the past month or two, they all get up on the Opry say, I haven't worked in a year.
Yeah.
So now that things are loosening up, there's been several artists that are now, I'm seeing posting of them hitting back on the road. So some of the drummers I know that are with those artists, of course, they're definitely putting that out there, saying, thank God we're back on the road.
Yeah.
But I think overall it is about networking. If you know somebody here, definitely make that connection before you make the move, or if you can afford to make the move, that's good too. But the main thing is sustaining, because if you're not going to get right in to the music community, then be ready to find regular work per se. I don't know what it could be. You could be working at a restaurant or anywhere else, but something to sustain yourself, until you meet people and get in, and little by little, maybe you go in and do a demo session, maybe you play live with somebody, but it sort of expands that way,
Yeah.
But that's the one thing now I see opening back up, because 6 months ago I wouldn't know what to say.
Right.
It was so locked in, But I guess in memory, I remember years ago, because I mentored several out of Berkeley, and a great drummer, Steve Sinatra of all people.
Yeah.
He was graduating, and he said he was going to move here. And I remember him moving here, and he contacted me. He said, Eddie, I'm here. And I said, so what are you doing? He said, well, I'm looking for some players to put together a little jazz quartet, but right now I'm parking cars at the Lowe's Vanderbilt Hotel. And I said, Steve, you're going to be just fine. And sure enough, he became, he got the drumming gig with Little Big Town, and then he became Hunter Hayes' band director. So I haven't caught up with him in the past year, but, at least I see that as an exemplary.
Yeah. Yep. And to your point, he came prepared to do something else to pay his bills.
Yeah.
Knowing that he had to do that networking and yeah.
Yeah. That was my advice to most of the Berkeley students, because I said, oh, maybe you guys, separate from different types, whether it's, songwriting or musicianship or business, like that. I said, but I'd say break those walls down to get to know each other, because a lot of my beginnings came from people that weren't specifically musicians. They were people that I met who said, man, I'm going to start a publishing company. Would you like to be involved? And yeah, absolutely. And I would get in. And that's how a lot of the production situations I got into from the onset came to be.
Yeah. Yep.
So important networking wherever you are.
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
No, you're right. That's the key to. Sorry,
yes.
Eddie?
Yeah, no, I was just saying, someone, I don't know where you're at right now, but somebody that you meet or somebody you interact with musically may move. They may move away from that town that you're in and maybe get going in some venture. And by them knowing you and you knowing them, you don't know. It could be, the one phone call that changes everything.
Yeah. Yep. Great advice. I'm going to read a couple of comments, and there's a question from my pal, Anthony Cusina, who always asks great questions. He's just asking, and John Ferraro, by the way, says hello, our friend John.
Hey,
Ferraro.
John. Yeah.
Yeah. Anthony said, how did your beginnings start in Nashville, and what are you focusing on these days to improve your playing?
Well, I had two different beginnings. I had one, my father was a fighter pilot in the Navy. When he retired, we moved here, and I was here for 6 years. From that point on, I was more keyboard. I was classically trained at Belmont University, and then I went into Philadelphia and played B3 with a band up there. And then from that, I would having, a lot of us, double duty. A lot of times maybe a drummer might play piano or maybe guitar or something like that. And I was a piano player to play drums. So it didn't matter. Whatever gig came up, I was ready to play. So I guess long story short, I moved from the Philly area, went to Las Vegas for a year and a half, played in a band called the Checkmates Ltd. Then went to Oakland, California. I spent about 3 years there. When I came back to Nashville, I was still more focusing on keyboard, and I started playing piano at the Carousel Club, and I was hired by the drummer named Larrie Londin. So I played piano with Larry for about a year and a half, and I told him I want to switch and I want to do this, and he really mentored me through a lot of that. And the rest of it came from, again, through that networking, that I got into a production company that didn't do mainstream music, but they booked outside musicians. And as those musicians came in, they got to know me because I was the drummer for the production company. And they went, man, I really love the way you play, and I want to book you on my demo session, or I want to book you on my record. And that went on, and your name gets out there more and more. And then finally there's some records that become noted. And for me, it was, I had worked a record with an artist that requested Leland Sklar to play bass. So he came to Nashville. I worked with him, and we connected immediately. He said, I'm going to recommend you. My friend Mike Post has an album coming up that I'm going to get him to have you do. And sure enough, Mike called me, and it was 9 to 5.
Wow. Yeah.
So, but that's the way.
Yeah.
Excuse me. That's the way it went. That's how it.
Yeah.
So, as far as what I do, I would have to say that anything that I hear, and the great thing about the Opry is I'm working with a lot of the new artists. So anything that I hear on their recordings that interests me, about how things are done or what they're done, I want to learn it. Just like when I would hear the programming going on, I want to learn that. So what I did was I have my Pro Tools. I've got every plug-in known to man, so I can program anything. I got Superior Drummer 3, and I have all these things. So, but the rest of it, as far as, it keeps me busy enough every week where that's pretty much my practicing, per se.
Yeah.
Because when you're doing 50 to 60 songs and learning them every week, then that's what happens. You have to retain that, and that keeps your mind. And when you're performing, that keeps you pretty busy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
And I have to say that what I've done, not that I've done, but what we did at the Opry, I couldn't do, when I first started, I didn't want to do every week. So I started the situation of hiring another drummer to come and swap weeks with, which I did.
Was that Mark Beckett?
No, actually, it was Paul Lime.
Oh, Paul Lime.
And when Paul Lime left, I went to them and I wanted Mark. And I guess probably 11 years now he's been there and doing amazing. I mean, he's like my younger version. You know, because
he loves you.
Yeah. Oh, I love him. You know, we go back to our beginnings when he was 13, Barry. I worked in Barry's rhythm section here in Nashville. And he contacted me. He says, well, my son Marks wants to be a drummer. So I went to their home, right? That was Columbia, Tennessee. But subsequent to that, you know, Barry would take every track that we ever did, recording with him for over those years, and give them to Mark. And that's where he learned.
Wow.
And now when I hear him play, I went, oh my goodness. That, you know, and he is so gracious to me. I know he always says great things, you know, but I have every bit to say great about what he's doing now.
Oh,
amazing drummer.
That's great. Well, you know, when I put this up on Facebook that we were going to be doing this today, he commented, he said, the best, you know, and yeah. I said, absolutely. Amen. Well, you know, that's fascinating, Eddie. And I want to just jump backwards a second. And I knew about the connection to Larry and, you know, you kind of getting your beginnings and Larry kind of being a mentor. And so I'm guessing was that the early 70s? Was that about what? Yep. Sure. Early 70s.
Probably 74.
74. Okay.
Yeah.
And Larry was obviously a busy guy in town.
That's another humorous story, because Larry would go out with Waylon or go out with Chet Atkins. So finally, me being in the band, Larry knew of my capability of playing drums. So he told them at the Carousel, he says, you know, Eddie knows the show. Let him play the drums while I go do these concerts out there. And I'm thrilled to death.
Yeah.
I'm going, yes, absolutely. And Larry said, my kit's there. You can just do it. I'll never forget that the night that I'm coming in to play drums and I sit on Larry's drums and I've got my stick bag and I undo the sticks and I put my foot on the kick pedal and I went,
yes.
I said, you know what? I bet he locks it so nobody can play the kick. And then I stood up and it went boom, like that. I went, oh, I am in trouble. Well, I took the kick pedal off, you know, hopefully for, you know, how you can loosen up.
Yeah, yeah.
It was at its loosest strain. He had a guy here build him a pedal, and it was inhuman to play. If you can imagine me, I was going up and down Printer's Alley for other musicians I knew there. I said, does anybody have a kick drum pedal? and luckily I did get one and I went in and it all went fine. But I tell you what, there were some fear moments.
Yeah, yeah.
Because
I said,
gosh. Well, yeah, I'm going to be playing, but you're not going to be hearing a kick drum because I can't push this thing down.
Oh, yeah. Rest his soul. I didn't know Larry well, but I met him a couple of times, and I was working at Drum Workshop when he signed on with DW in the 80s. And in fact, I remember one time picking him up at the Sheraton Universal Hotel, you know, like in Universal City and
I know it.
Hollywood. You know the hotel. I picked him up, you know, in the Valley, brought him up to Drum Workshop, and we chatted the whole way. And he was just such a nice man. And I remember that about the pedal because DW was making a special pedal based on, I guess, was it the Caroline pedal that he used, that old or ASBA, one of those pedals, and extra wide footboard and a special spring. Yeah. That,
if I'm not mistaken, the one that was a prototype, of course, he wasn't with DW at that time. He was still with Pearl.
Yeah.
Was made by a guy named Tommy Winkler.
Oh, of course. Tommy Winkler. Yeah.
Yeah. And he built that pedal, inhuman pedal. I remember being on a session with him. I was playing B3, and the artist was always infatuated. You know, Larry, come out there and play me that kick drum pattern. and he would do this kick drum pattern. And I mean, it would go do 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 do, you know, and they're all just going like that, and I'm going like that. But I didn't realize at that time he's doing it with that pedal.
Wow.
And I'm going, my God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing? I know that he could play with so much finesse.
Oh my God. It was a clock. I mean, amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I the first time I ever saw him play was he was playing Zildjian at the time at a Zildjian day in Boston in 1983, one of the first ones they ever had. And I had never heard of him. I'm kind of, I was a kid and, but I think you'll attest to this, Eddie. In those days, so many of you great session drummers were still kind of unknown, unlike today. You weren't as known to the masses yet. Unless you really dug deep into all the liner notes of records and then you'd see it. But I didn't know that he'd played on all these incredible records. But anyway, he comes out, he's the first guy to come out that day, and he opens up with a drum solo playing this incredible double stroke roll on the snare drum. That was just, I mean,
I know that one well.
I mean,
it was just awesome. Just absolutely awesome. Ironically, from my beginnings too, with me and Lane, he played on Lane's #1 record.
No kidding.
Yeah, the Yellow Rose of Texas. That's Larrie Londin.
Yeah, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I know. It's amazing, isn't it? And when we look at our history and see how all that came forward, As a matter of fact, Lane, May 4th, Lane and I will be celebrating our silver anniversary. 25 years.
Wow.
I know.
Congratulations. Happy early anniversary. Wow.
Thank you, John. Yes, thank you.
Oh, man. And please give her a hug for me, too.
I will hug her. I'll hug her a lot for you.
I appreciate that. Oh, that's fantastic. That's great. Well, I had made a note to talk about Larrie, and I'm glad you kind of brought it up because it was a great segue into that, because I knew, there was a history there with you guys and the notorious cherry bombers or cherry bombs.
Yeah, Notorious Cherry Bomb. Yeah, I played his kit, his red kit that he used with the cherry bombs on that record. To honor him.
Oh, that's great.
Because he was the original Cherry Bomb drummer,
right?
And we had to change the name to the Notorious Cherry Bombs, but we had his drums brought into Ocean Way, and I played them. It was with my kick pedal. With your kick pedal,
yeah. So when you started to work as a session drummer at that time, I know there were some other guys in town like Buddy Harmon and and I don't know if was Gene Chrisman in Nashville or was he in Memphis at that time?
He was in Memphis.
He was in Memphis, yeah, okay.
But you know what? He came up. Another ironic moment was Lane was produced by Chips Moman and the Memphis Boys.
Yeah.
So Chips Moman had a studio up here. So Gene and Reggie Young and Bobby Wood, Bobby Emmons, they all came up here. And for weeks, they played on Lane's record. And it's still today an incredible record. But Gene and I mean, of course, Lane was first, but Gene and I became very close subsequent to that.
Yeah.
And Gene, and amazing when I saw your promo and I saw that great picture of us with Buddy and DJ and Hal, and all of them are since gone,
Yeah.
It's just amazing. Yes,
I know.
sir. There it is. Look.
Yeah, I know I know. That warms my heart so much when I look at that picture, and I've narrowed it down. I believe it was PASIC 1996. I think you and Hal and DJ and probably Buddy were doing like a panel discussion or something.
We did. You're absolutely right. We did do that.
Yeah. So like, what an opportunity to just hear all you guys talking and
well, what was great was subsequent to that, of course, Buddy and I always talked, and DJ and I, and of course, Hal and I were close. Yeah. As a matter of fact, Jules Follett, who you know,
yes,
had me be musical director for the tribute to Hal here in Nashville. So
that's right.
You know, when she showed me what was done in LA, I said, I want to do something different. I want to have every drummer here play a Hal song. So I put a band together, and amazingly enough, you know, Hal was there, and you know, we got to talking, and so anyway, we started the show off. Every song, John, he'd bring tears to his eyes.
Yeah.
And, you know, everyone, and just watching that history before him and knowing that. And then it came time for my moment when all that was done. I said, well, my moment is I want me and Hal to jam. So Hal came up and him and I jammed a little bit. And then, of course, I introduced him, obviously, to a great audience. And I said, the great Hal Blaine. And you know Hal.
Yeah.
He gets up and there, thank you. Appreciate it, you know, from Jules and all of us that bestowed all these things on him. He goes, you know, when I reflect over the 60s, the most important word was here. And everybody's here. And he goes, yeah, here.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm here.
Yeah, right. That's Hal. You know Hal. I mean, it's a.
Oh, I know, man. He was too funny. He was, you know, God bless him. Right till the end, you know, he was sending those emails out with all the jokes and yeah. I was fortunate and blessed to attend his 90th birthday in LA at the Baked Potato, you know, just a month before he left us. And he was still, you know, funny and he got up and played that night with the band later, but it was just so, you know, we're so lucky to have these memories, you know, these
yes,
incredible
absolutely.
people in our lives. Yeah. Yeah. And I was, you know, I love your story about you and Larry because, you know, I love the fact that, you know, he was so secure in his world that he saw you as a great drummer and, you know, basically just needing that little, you know, opportunity to kind of get your foot in the door. And he was happy to help. And as you've done, you know, as you've passed along to other people as well. And
yes. You know, the other story was that as I was progressing and when 9 to 5 came around, I even told Larry, I said, my God, the great Mike Post has booked me on this record. And I'm thinking, you know, high times. And I get a call from a secretary. He said, by the way, Mike said he wants those toms to sound like jet airplanes. Of course, immediately I just went, oh my God. So I called Larry. I said, Larry, I mean, I've got this incredible opportunity coming up, but the secretary, I mean, what would you say if he said he wanted the toms to sound like jet airplanes? Larry said, I'd say he's full of shit.
Was Mike pulling your leg? Was he, I mean, was it just like a bit that he was, or is it?
You know, amazingly enough, we are still close today. In fact, him and Lane wrote a song that we recorded. But throughout the years, even during that period of time, he came in and everything was notated for those records.
Mm-hmm.
And so the great thing is I could read. So, and I would come to him and I would get to specific things. I could say, oh, I understand these feels here, this here. I said, but I would never play a fill like that, you know, testing it. And he said, just play whatever you want. So I knew, a lot of it was all in, you know, fun. So,
that's great. That's great. And things just kind of progressed from there by the 80s. You were, gosh, I mean, that's what I recall was, you just were doing everything, 80s and
Yeah,
90s and onward,
that was it. I mean, the one thing about it is, yes, everybody's getting back to work and doing, but those 20 years will never be again. Because just to give you an example, let's just say this is April 30th, which it is.
Mm-hmm.
I was booked every week 7 months from now.
Right.
I could look in my book. I was already booked 7 months. And that you won't see. And I'm talking about every week.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that we will never see that again.
Right. Anywhere in Nashville, Los Angeles.
Yeah, not session wise. Of course, if you're with an artist, yeah, you're booked
yeah,
for 6
sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like you say, yeah, I mean that I remember coming out for, to visit, and you'd invite me to the studio, and you'd be working all day, and you'd give me a rundown of what you had going on. And a lot of the same guys I'd see, Brent Mason and Michael Rhodes, and the players. And and you'd say, well, I got this going on, the next week or 2 weeks, and months and months out.
Yeah, it was an amazing time, and I could pretty well tell it when I look over my discography. You can see the 80s and 90s are just saturated.
Yeah.
And but fortunate times.
Yeah. It's exactly. And it's different. It's not, it's just like you've now, you've adapted, and it's not what it was then, but it's different.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. And it sounds like, I mean, the Opry gig is something that I'm sure, like, it's something you look forward to, with all that kind of, brain stimulation of playing that much too. That much.
Well, what I love about it is the other side of us as players, because obviously in the studio, like a couple of weeks ago, I had 5 days, and I was working with this group who is doing their album again that I did last year. So I spent 5 days. They do all the music, and then they just book me to come in and put the drums on and percussion. So, but again, that's one song at a time,
Yeah.
So in the Opry, it's one song at a time, but it has to be done live. You don't get a second shot.
Yeah.
So you have to know that, I mean, which Lane knows that. I mean, I spend hours, just like I'm ready for tonight. I've spent hours on what I have to perform tonight, because I don't want to be married to a chart. I want to look at it for reference, but I don't want to have to be, concerned about missing something.
Yeah.
So I really get to know those songs.
Yep. No, that makes sense. Yeah. You don't want to be in that live situation. I'm sure you could do it, but like you say, if you, it's much better to know the tune, have a good idea of the form of the tune, rather than relying on the chart. But I would love to pick your brain for a second, Eddie, about kind of going back to that heyday period you were talking about. I have to think probably a lot of what you were doing at that time was charts, right? You'd come in and be given a chart, or you hear the song and maybe write a chart out to do a session when you were doing that much work.
Yeah. That was the first you heard it. Most protocol was you play the demo. You can either write your own, or somebody else could write one, unless they did pre-production and had the leader get together and write the charts. And so a lot of times that was the case. The charts were already done.
Yeah.
But the first you heard it was when you got into the studio. So you obviously learn it. You make your markings and listen to all the requests, from artist or producer about what they would like, something as far as dynamics of the song,
Yeah.
And then during the song, maybe quick editing, maybe, cut that instrumental in half, or overlap coming from the chorus into the instrumental, taking off a bar, or, things like that. Quick edits.
Yeah.
And then perform again, so.
And how often would you guys get like a final track? Like how many could you, were you at the point where you could run it down maybe 2 times and get a take? Like, did you guys have it that well oiled that you could just kind of have
Uh,
all your charts and
well, to us, we could.
yeah, yeah.
To us, we got it the second, but then one more,
Yeah.
one more, So, yeah, there was always that case, but usually the standard was 2 songs a session. So about an hour and a half for each song.
Yeah.
So that you would spend, and that would be able to allow the producer or the artist to listen to what's going on and make comments about, well, right there, why don't you make that bridge a halftime and not full time? Or anything like things of that nature. So it was all about fine tuning, but that was pretty much the norm, that there would be 2 songs a session.
Yeah. I remember you telling me that, and I wanted everybody watching this to know that too, that's incredible. And that's besides, the great playing, I have to think too, that they knew when they were hiring you and all those guys, they were going to get, it's like when you hired Hal Blaine back in the day, it was like, you're going to get a great product, but you're also going to get it done efficiently. You're not going to have to spend 2 days trying to get a track done.
Well, that was the normal, because the outside the box, like with Bob Seger, you could spend 3 or 4 hours on a song. Same with Mark Knopfler, I mean, each one is like their baby. So and budget was no issue. So they would spend all that time in getting it right, so.
Yeah.
But those were outside the box, again, more normal for the artists that I worked with over those years. That was pretty much the standard.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of, I remember when you were doing the John Fogerty record in LA.
Yeah.
And I think you were out there for like months or something, right? I mean, was it?
Yeah, about 42 days. I remember.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I know. Well, that's like you say, that's a great example of outside the box of like, budget not being an issue. He's got you staying in a nice hotel and you're, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a different way to go.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, I'm gonna just a couple more comments. I'd love to read just questions. Carlos Guzman asked, Eddie, in the 80s, electronics was really a part of session drummers setup, and then it went away. Do you see it coming back? Because you used some electronics during those days, Eddie, right? Did you?
I had a refrigerator.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah.
You could open it up. I had an Akai sampler. I had D drums. I had Simmons 5. And they were all linked into a patch. So I had a mixer so that I could feed whichever ones on the sounds that I had. And everything was triggered. The toms were triggered by PZMs. The snare was triggered. The kick drum was triggered.
Yeah.
And then I would have an extraneous pad for any other unusual effect or something like that. Yeah, but that was pretty much it. And that went, I'm trying to think when that kind of went away, because I think a lot of it came from when engineers with Pro Tools had the ability for sound replace.
Yeah.
So I could leave a record, and when I heard single off that record, I would go, that's not the snare I used.
Yeah.
So they had, the capability of replacing anything they wanted.
Yeah.
So I think that was kind of like the start of a downturn. Of course, as we know, electronically, loops are rampant. Almost every new artist now that I work with, there's a loop on the record.
Wow.
I don't demean it, because sometimes it really works with the song, and of course then they'll put real drums over it, or sometimes they just program drums over that.
Yeah.
So a couple of the artists I'm working with this week, that's exactly the case. It's the drums and loop are all programmed.
No kidding. And And it's a country artist.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I just, it's just interesting that it's, that it's so, I guess, part of the fabric now of recording, like as you say, the loops
I,
overdubbing electronics.
I think a lot of it too came from the fact that a lot of people were songwriter, producers, artists, and they were able to get in a room as your size and do everything there. So obviously, the easiest thing to do would be just program.
Yeah.
They could put on real guitars and basses and things like that. But then again, as far as drums, they could just do the loop and the real drums. I mean, and the programmed drums.
Yeah.
So, that's not the norm. I mean, it's every once in a while I hear that. More than not, there's a loop, and then they've overdubbed drums to that.
Right. Wow. The other part that Los had asked is, do you see it coming back again as part of a working electronics coming back as a working drummer's setup?
Well, it depends on what capacity, because now if I go in and do a session, sometimes I ask for a heads up, but the thing I can do is I can bring in my Pro Tools. I can bring in my array of loops, or even my Superior Drummer. And if they want a loop, I could program 2 bars of it, put it on a flash drive, give it to the engineer. He could load it in, spread it across the time of the song. So that's about as far as it'll go.
Yeah.
I think as far as on sessions, I don't ever see it coming back to what we were dealing with, in the 80s.
Yeah. I don't live in your world, obviously, but I don't either, from what I can see from speaking with yourself and other recording artists, that it's, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're probably relieved to be sort of done with the refrigerator at the session.
Yeah, I am. It was to me, again, that was the part of rising to the occasion. Like if on the onset I know I don't want to deal with that, well, then somebody is, and then I don't get work.
Yeah.
So I wanted to learn it all. I got it all. I bought it all to exist. And then when the time comes and it starts diminishing, fine with me. I really don't have one thing or another to say. I have to say, some of those records I did that I used the electronics, they still sound great, because an engineer knew how to melt all that together. But overall, it's just also refreshing to go in with an acoustic set of drums, and play a session.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Get a great drum sound.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And speaking of that, Francois, I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Fortin, Eddie, could you tell me about your new Pearl Maple Gum Kit?
Excellent. I mean,
yeah.
Through my years, I've always went for state of art, because that's the one thing we need to bring to the table when it comes to us doing recordings.
Yeah.
Or even live. And so when Sakai kind of went down, then, John here at Pearl reached out, and actually John Michael Brady, who was at Drum Paradise that time, wanted to put us together. And John said, I would love for you to come back to Pearl, because that's where I started.
Right.
Actually, I started with Remo. But anyway.
Oh, right. Yeah.
But anyway, and when he went there and we discussed the kit, and I knew from talking to Shannon and Chad Cromwell, all them, about their Maple Gum Kit. And I said, well, obviously that's what I want. Yeah. And he said, okay, we're going to make it. And we already know your specifications, and we're going to do it that way. And so I got the kit, and it's an amazing kit.
I'll bet. Yeah. Beautiful drums. And John is a great guy. He went to Berkeley. You probably know.
Yes, I do.
Yeah. And he came in and interned for me just before I left Zildjian for a few months. And what a great guy. And I'm so happy to see him doing so well in the industry. I think he went from he got a job at Tama Drums for a little while, and then he got this job at Pearl, where I think he's in charge, right? He's the head of artist relations.
Yeah, he's doing great.
He's doing great. Yeah, good guy.
Everyone there, him and Derek, they handle everything, And in fact, I just called him last week. I said, I want a maple gum snare drum and the color of my kit and everything. He said, I'll order it right now. So
beautiful.
Looking forward to get that. Yeah, they're state of art drums. The engineer that did the record I told you about, the guys that already programmed their music, not programmed, but they'd already played all the instruments. The engineer for that, Dan Frizzell, said, you're not going to believe this, but I know everyone says I never had to do anything. He said, but with those drums, I used my choice of microphones, but I didn't have to do anything. They sound that great right on the floor.
That's amazing. That's what a testament that is. Yeah. To just, flat, uneq'd, great sounding drums.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And of course, as you know, before I start with you, I'm forever with Zildjian. So
I know that. I know. One of the first guys to play Zildjian sticks too. I remember calling you up, and
you got me in that.
I know. I hope you're not mad at me for that.
No, I cannot. My bag's full. Good, I still use them. And of course, Joe's over there now with Vic.
Yeah.
But I guess they still keep the sticks separate, right? They're still Zildjian sticks and Vic Vader?
I don't know. I think they're all one big happy family now. So I think they're all
okay.
I think Joe's like your guy for everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remarkable.
Joe the Fonz Testa.
Yes.
Fonzie. He just had a birthday too a couple of days ago. So
oh my God.
Yeah.
I'll have to text him. Yeah.
Yeah, text him. You should text him. And Anthony Cusina had another question. He just asked, do you have a home recording studio that you produce drum tracks from, and are you virtually teaching from home?
Yeah, I don't teach, but I mentor. Anybody can get in touch with me and ask me whatever questions they may have for wherever they are in their musical life at this point, and I'll be happy to respond. But yeah, I do have a home recording studio. In fact, I'm in it now, and I do a lot of times if somebody wants specific things, they can send me the track, and I can either virtually do the drums, or if not, I have a connection with Loud Studio at Curb, where I have a kit there, and I can go over there and I can overdub real drums on whatever they have. So yeah, I'm doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. I figured it. I was going to ask that question too. So I'm glad that Anthony did. And I was going to point out to everybody watching that Eddie's engineer in his home studio is right behind him on the bed or on the couch there. That's Anastasia.
Anastasia. That's right.
Yeah.
That's my engineer.
He mixes everything.
Yeah. Or she's my advisor. I go, hey, Annie, what should I do? And then somehow telepathically she
tells you. Yeah. Oh man. Well, Eddie, this has been so much fun. We're the time goes by quick, I know, but I've so enjoyed having you here. And is there anything, any more wisdom you might want to impart on these folks watching at home that
I think from what I just said, if there's any questions, because I don't know overall answers, but if something is specific or sent to me, I pretty well should know it after all my years.
Yeah, I would say so. I would say you do know it.
And if I don't, I'll know somebody that does.
Oh, man. Well, Paul Quinn, our favorite attorney, just said, I'm late. He'll watch the rerun.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hello,
and he's
Paul.
a prince. Yeah, a prince among men. He sure is a prince among men.
Oh, thank you, Paul.
Eddie, this has been so great, my friend. I love and miss you so much.
I miss you too, and I sure look forward to a time when we can bake bread.
Me too. Me too. Yeah, I'm due to come. I was in Nashville a couple of years ago, and I think I know I reached out. I think you were. I was only there a couple of days, and you weren't available. But it was something that Harry was doing at his
That's right.
place with Rick Marotta. Yeah, and
That's right.
I think you were working at the time, and
Yeah.
no surprise. But yeah, I will look forward to seeing you very soon. But don't go away though. I'll end the stream and we'll say goodbye in the little green room there. So
Okay.
all right. So hang tight just for 1 second, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. Big hand for Eddie Bayers, please. Good friend, and check out his website, and you'll be astounded at when you see Eddie's incredible body of work. It's just unbelievable. So Eddie, thanks. Hang on 1 second.
Okay, John.
Thanks for watching, everybody. See you soon.